Welcome to the Postpartum Performance Podcast. If you're here to be empowered and encouraged, you're in the right place. I believe every woman deserves to learn who's in her corner, which is why this podcast was created, to share encouragement and intentional conversations around women's health, nutrition, and wellness for new mothers. In each episode, we will discuss ways for women to find truth for her health, to feel strong, and to be confident from the inside out. I'm your host, Dr. Lindsay Pachkowski, a performance physical therapist with a passion for teaching others about pelvic health and guiding mothers to build movement, confidence, and strength. I'm a lover of running and weightlifting and a healthy cooking enthusiast. All right, ladies, grab your coffee and settle in for an episode of the Postpartum Performance Podcast. Are you with me? Here we go. Hey, ladies, welcome back to the first episode of 2021 for the Postpartum Performance Podcast. I hope you all had a very happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Today on the show, I had the joy of interviewing my friend Julia Putzi, and I'm so excited to share this episode with you all because she has got some exciting things to share that I know you will love. Today on the show, we talk about the importance of quality of ingredients, choosing a little bit better when it comes to nutrition, and honoring your different version of yourself during pregnancy and postpartum. We also talk on so many other things when it comes to nutrition and pregnancy and fitness. So this is a good one for you all. A little bit more about Julia. Julia is a product manager who has been working in the tech industry for almost 10 years. She started her career at the NFL and worked for 2 startups before landing in her current role at Trunk. As a product manager, Julia is responsible for defining the requirements and user experience for mobile apps, websites, and other digital platforms. After years of working on a variety of products, she has combined her product knowledge with her certification as a nutritional therapy practitioner and is currently working on the creation of the Panda app, which helps users identify harmful ingredients and find quality food. Julia lives in Encinitas, California, with her husband, Philippe, and her son, Levi, who is currently 20 months. Ladies, this is a great show to kick off the 2021 year, and I'm so excited for having you guys have a listen. So without further ado, let's get to the show. All right, Julia, welcome to the Postpartum Performance Podcast. I'm so happy to have you on, finally reconnecting. So good.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. So before we get started, I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself, personally and professionally, kind of where you're at right now, and a little bit about your past and what's kind of brought you to this point.
Cool. So yeah, my name is Julia Putzi, and I live in Encinitas, California, with my husband and my son, Levi, who is about 20 months old. So I'm a new mom, and I have been living in Encinitas for like the past 3 years. But prior to that, I've been working in the tech industry for like almost 10 years now. Ever since I graduated from college, I kind of got started working at the NFL, which led me into technology, and I fell in love with product management, which is kind of the role within technology that allows you to like define a user experience for an app or a website, or kind of help, define what the functionality of a digital product should be and like how someone would experience it. So I've been doing that for the past 10 years, and more recently also got involved and interested in health and nutrition. I've just kind of always been interested in health. I played, sports in college. I played field hockey in college, and just have always been kind of in that world. But more recently, in the past couple of years, just became really interested in food quality and better understanding like what that really means. So I got certified as a nutritional therapy practitioner, which was like a year-long program that I did online to just educate myself. And ever since I did that, I wanted to find a way to bridge my 2 worlds together. Like, how do I bring this knowledge about health and nutrition and food to the world of technology so that it can be shared more broadly? I could, with that certification, become a nutritionist, but ultimately I wanted to make sure that that information got out to those who need it the most. And those who need it the most can't always afford a nutritionist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doing now. I'm kind of with my most recent role, working for a small company called Flytrunk, and we are building this new product that I brought to them as an idea, and kind of creating what I've really always dreamed of, which is a product of my own that really solves a problem that I'm really passionate about. So
I love it. I love it. There's so many things that go into just hearing about your story. So, backstory for listeners: Dave and I met Julia and her husband Philippe when we all had kind of moved out here around the same time to California, and we had gotten connected with mutual friend Morgan, and we just connected over like eating quality food and just like having a good time of enjoying like food for what it is, as like a nutritious thing, and also just the experience of what you can have with food. So I just love seeing now kind of full circle where that's come and the conversations that we had through that, and how we were talking before this. You said that it's been a long time coming, but it was kind of, you were thinking through things of how you wanted to have that happen, and how time has just made that become a thing. And you put in, I'm sure, loads of work for this. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love to hear a little bit about your product or the app that you are creating, because I think it is something that is so helpful. It will be helpful for new moms, especially, and people alike from all walks of life. But I would love to have you share a little bit more about Trash Panda and kind of where it came from and what's it about.
Totally. Yeah, I love that you brought up, when we first met and when we first moved to San Diego, because that was really when like this idea came about. And I have this like distinct memory of Morgan, who she's the president of Primal Kitchen, and obviously knows a lot about healthy food and about the ingredients that go into a quality food product. And she was over at our house and we were cooking together, and she was like looking through my cabinets, and I had some like canola oil or vegetable oil in my cabinet. And she was like, Julia, what are you doing with this? Like, you can't be eating this. This isn't good for you. And I was like, what are you talking about? This has been something that my mom cooked with, that I've always cooked with. I eat healthy. I feel like I know at that point in my life what eating healthy means. Mm-hmm. And here's Morgan coming through my kitchen being like, what are you doing? Yeah. And so that was the point at which I realized how much I didn't know. And that there's a big difference between eating for weight management or weight loss than there is eating healthy. And that really shifted my perspective about like what I was putting in my body, and shifting it away from focusing on how many calories are in this thing or how much fat is in this thing, as ways to avoid eating too much or, eating the wrong thing, and shifting it to what are the ingredients in this thing? And are those ingredients made out of real food, or are they not? And so that kind of tipping point for me was what pushed me into wanting to learn more. And like I said, get my certification in nutrition. But that's what Trash Panda, which is the name of my new app, is all about. So it's an app that will essentially allow you to scan a product that you're looking at while you're grocery shopping, or going through your pantry like I did and throwing everything out when you realize that it's not good. But it allows you to scan a product and get immediate insight about the ingredients in the product. So it's very similar to, I don't know if you know the app Think Dirty. They do exactly the same thing for personal care products. And we'll be doing that for food products. So, you have a product in front of you, it's a bag of chips or whatever that you're buying at Trader Joe's. You can take out the Trash Panda app, scan the product, and see, are the ingredients in these chips good quality or not? And it'll kind of highlight for you what the harmful ingredients are. And if there's ingredients that aren't necessarily harmful, but, we raise them as questionable, is what we call them in the app, because it's, another name for sugar, or just things that you want to be aware of. Not that you should necessarily not eat at all, but, you just want to be informed about. The app will highlight that as well. And it actually, one of the things that I kind of realized in looking at similar products like Think Dirty, apps like Think Dirty that do similar stuff, is that it fully relies on a barcode. So they have to have this database of like every product ever saved ever, which is really hard to do.
It's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
In order for you to be able to scan whatever product you want and get information back. So what we wanted to do with Trash Panda was make sure that we weren't only reliant on that, because we know that's not really possible to save all those products. So we do a barcode scan initially. If you have that bag of chips in front of you, you scan the barcode. If we have it, great. We show you the insight about the product. And if we don't, you can actually take a photo of the ingredients list itself. So the actual text of the ingredients on the product. And we'll give you the exact same insights about the ingredients as if you scanned the barcode. Because we can, awesome. Yeah, we can read the text of the ingredients, recognize the ones that we know we want to flag, and give you that exact same insight. So you'll pretty much never scan something without the ability to get immediate feedback about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was really important to us. So yeah, it's super exciting. It's a product that I feel like I'm shocked that it doesn't exist, you know, like I feel like we really have hit on something that a lot of consumers have been asking for. I think people are really starting to turn packages over more often. They're not trusting the marketing as much. They're being, you know, inquisitive about what's in their food, and they're kind of demanding that products give answers. I mean, that's why people buy products like Primal Kitchen, because they trust them.
Absolutely.
To not include things like that. So yeah.
And I like the fact that you have, it's more than like the nutrition facts, because I think a lot of people will look at that and they're like, oh, this has fiber. This has, you know, it's low fat, it's high fat, or like they're looking at that, but they're not looking at the ingredients. And that's, I think something like it's more important for some of those products of like what's actually in this thing. And then people realize like, oh, there is sugar in this, or, oh, there's some kind of odd oils or other chemicals and things that I didn't even think of. But when they're looking at the nutrition facts, they're like, oh, it's only 100 calories. That's not bad. But they don't realize all the other things that I think are almost more important to keep that in mind. And for even just like, we were talking about how like new moms, and you're recently a new mother too. But finding when I feel like I've seen this many times at the grocery store where there's moms with their kids and they're always like, Mom, I want this. And they're just like filling up the cart with stuff. And I can see how overwhelming that would be. But with an app like that, to just quickly scan some stuff to know, okay, I can choose healthy foods for myself and my kids, and at least know what they're putting in their bodies, especially for some of those convenient foods and stuff that's prepackaged when we don't have the chance to do fresh produce or other things, or we're traveling and things like that. So I think that is so awesome with your product. So right now it's still in the beta phase a little bit more, testing things out. And then you said it'll be live hopefully this spring.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, to touch on your point about the nutrition facts, that's exactly right. And we don't actually give you any feedback about the nutrition facts part of the label at all. It's only about the ingredient quality. So if you pick up a carton of ice cream, we're not going to tell you that ice cream is bad. You know, ice cream has a place in our life. It's delicious and it's a treat. So I'm not scanning ice cream to find out whether or not it's healthy. I know it's not like eating broccoli, but I can at least choose an ice cream that's made from real ingredients and that's of good quality over one that's made with, you know, artificial flavors or natural flavorings or other things that can be more harmful, in addition to the, you know, classically harmful things like sugar, which, you know, you want to consume in moderation. So that's exactly right. And that's exactly what we're after. And, you know, to your point about when the app will be available, we are targeting in the spring. But right now we're doing a lot just of sharing of content, and you have the ability right now to sign up to be one of the first people to get the app. So you can go to our website and sign up. And as soon as the first test version of the app is available, we're going to be handing it out to people who are interested in trying it out. in the next month. So the first testers will start to get the app in January, and anybody can sign up to be a tester if you're interested in checking out the app. We're obviously looking for people who would be interested in doing so. And that just means that you would get access to the app before it's available in the App Store and, be the first to check it out and give us feedback on it.
Awesome. Right on. We'll have all that in the show notes for people to get linked in with that. I'd be curious also with your background now with the nutritional therapy and building this. I think there's a lot of people that might classify themselves as vegan or keto or low carb or like any of those and across the board, however they want to label themselves. And I think we were talking about how through your program, you learned more about quality of food and kind of what you're consuming. And if you have any more to add to that on how, regardless of kind of your eating style, where quality fits in versus the quantity and other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for people to understand that everybody's different. My nutritional needs may be different from yours. Just based on a lot of different factors, but simply because we're different human beings. Mm-hmm. So I believe that, there's different diets that can work for different people. You might feel great on a vegan diet, but I feel best on more of a paleo or low carb diet. And I think that a lot of the problems with dieting is that people feel like they have to be this or they have to be that, when it doesn't necessarily work the best for their body. And the reason that they're doing these diets, sometimes it's about health, but a lot of times it's about, weight loss or weight management and all of that. And I think that's where, like, for me personally in my own journey, when I had that switch in my perspective to think about whole foods and think about the quality of food over a diet or over calorie counting or over trying to follow anything super specific, I had this shift toward focusing, like, what should I be putting in my body? What are the things that are good for me that I want to eat more of, that are not, it's not about I shouldn't eat this or I shouldn't eat that or I should eliminate this food from my diet completely. It's about, I should eat more vegetables. I should eat more, quality meats. I should incorporate things into my diet that are going to really provide a lot of nutrition for me versus things that are, less nutritious just by, the nature of what they are. Mm-hmm. So I think, for me, that's really helped me develop a better relationship with food, honestly, to focus on the good, to focus on, what's fueling my body and kind of just focus on how different foods make me feel. As long as I'm eating foods that are healthful and nutritious, and I'm focusing on how they make me feel. Like, dairy is a great example. It can be a very nutritious food for a lot of people, if it's of high quality and, all of that. But it really doesn't work for a lot of people. And so if it doesn't work for you, then it's not good for you, and that's just those kind of things that you need to be aware of and really pay attention to yourself and look at, your own body and how different foods make you feel and not try to necessarily follow the latest trend of
mm-hmm.
That's
absolutely popular. Yeah. How is it with kind of your approach to nutrition and whatnot during pregnancy and postpartum? Was there anything that shifted prior to pregnancy, during pregnancy, postpartum for you, or anything that you were kind of like, oh, this is different, whether that's how your body was responding or anything like energy wise or anything like that?
Oh man. Yeah. Pregnancy is crazy. I felt like a different person, in a lot of different ways, in the ways that I, was able to exercise and just, you're just a completely different version of yourself. And so I felt like everything changed. And for me, one of the biggest things that I learned was like how much more protein you need to consume when you're pregnant. That was something that we learned through one of the childbirth classes that we took. And I didn't realize, even through my nutrition education, there was nothing necessarily specific about pregnancy or postpartum or any of that. It's a little bit more generic. So I started upping my intake of protein. And I think that's important, for women, especially who are pregnant and may, start to have iron deficiency and things like that. That's like they start to eat more red meat, which I think is important. But I think too, you just have to, again, listen to your body, because, you know, I used to eat smoothies like every morning, and I do again now. But when I was pregnant, it was like, oh, like this is not what I want right now. And I first struggled with that because it's a way that I get a lot of healthy foods in, you know, it's an easy way to eat vegetables and get that protein and like have a really nice balanced meal to start the day. And when my body was kind of rejecting that during pregnancy, initially I kind of fought against it, but learned to go with it and, you know, make some oatmeal and some more warming foods that just felt more appropriate during the time that I was pregnant. And I think that that's just really key, because your body will tell you what it needs, right? And if you listen to it, I think it can be really hard to do that, but it can be rewarding, and you're always going to feel more nourished when you're tuning into that. If you're just eating a smoothie because that's what you always do, and even though your body's telling you it's not what it wants, you know, your body's not going to necessarily feel its best. So
I love what you said earlier about how you felt like it was a different version of yourself, where it's still you, but it's a different version. And even just being okay with kind of like rolling with however your body's going through different things. And especially like pregnancy for the first time for someone versus even if it's their second or third pregnancy, that can change too, where some people think like, oh, my first pregnancy was easy, and then their second pregnancy might be different, or vice versa. And so, or even what foods and how they're digesting things and all of that stuff can play a role. But going back to quality of food and listening and like honoring what your body actually wants and needs, I think is so important. So you nailed it. You nailed it.
Yeah, totally. And it's so easy to say and so much harder to do. I struggled every week of my pregnancy, because even while you're pregnant, every week is different. Your body's changing so rapidly, and you have different phases where you feel nauseous or you don't, or, you know, you have different physical capabilities and how you can exercise. And I struggled with that. I'm not someone that can go with the flow that easily. I like to do the things I like to do, and I don't like things to get in my way. And so it was a real learning moment for me personally. But looking back on it, it's easy to say, you know, listen to your body. But I totally feel for women who are going through it, being like, my body is not my body. I don't know how to listen to it right now. It's different. But I totally agree with what you said about trying to roll with it, trying to kind of ride the wave and trust your body.
You had mentioned too that your fitness stuff had changed, obviously playing field hockey in college and being active. And I know you were running, surfing, and things like that before. What does that look like now? And like now postpartum for you, as well as during pregnancy, what things did you have to shift or change kind of for your training?
Yeah, I mean, I would say now my son is almost a year and a half, and I'm probably just getting back to the point that I was at before I was pregnant, in terms of being at the level with all the different things I like to do exercise-wise before I got pregnant. But while I was pregnant, I did keep running for a while. I think I kept running until I was about 30 weeks pregnant. And I would do a lot of walking on hills and things like that when my heart rate would just really spike toward the end there. But I really slowed down. I mean, I definitely wasn't surfing. I'm not a good enough surfer to, you know, be comfortable surfing pregnant. I know that a lot of women are, and that's awesome. But personally, that wasn't right for me. I did a lot of very chill prenatal yoga during pregnancy, and that was just a huge emotional support for me. I met an awesome group of women, and we would mostly just sit around in a circle and talk about our feelings, and it wasn't about exercise at all, but it was exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That was
the support. Awesome. And then, so you said now you're feeling better with all the fitness stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. And I would say I probably pushed too hard too soon when I was postpartum. I started running again after the, you know, the specific 6 weeks for everybody that you can just go do whatever you were doing before after 6 weeks. And, you know, having been pregnant for 10 months, like, I didn't feel like I had a lot of very specific guidance in that department about like how I should ease back into it, what I should do. So I just went back to doing what I was doing before I was pregnant, and it was definitely too much too soon. So if I were to have it to do over again, I would certainly ease back into it more softly and more gently, take it a little bit easier on myself. And it wasn't because I felt the need to get my body back, or it wasn't about any of that. It was just like what I knew, and I didn't know this new version of myself postpartum that had different limits, that had different capabilities, and obviously different strengths. I mean, as a mother, you just grow in a completely
superwoman.
Way. Yeah. But I needed to learn that about myself, and I should have probably gotten a little more guidance and taken it a little bit easier.
Interesting. That's good for any listeners that are currently pregnant or looking to get pregnant too, and just knowing that there's people out there that can help you, whether that's other doctors or like a physical therapist like myself or other people, just knowing that there's teams of people, as well as on the nutrition side of things too, because there are so many things that will help you on the nutrition side also for recovery postpartum as well. So I asked this question for all of my guests, and it's, what's the I wish I would have known sooner? Whether that's, we'll keep it to nutrition. What's the thing that you wish you would have known sooner? When that comes up with, whether that's clients that you're working with or that you've been realizing as you're creating this app, that is something that you could kind of let people know that now they know, instead of waiting to hear and saying like, oh, I wish I would have known that sooner, like canola oil or, you know, like something like that. But what would that be for you on the nutrition side of things?
Yeah, I would say canola oil is a big one, but more generally speaking, and canola oil and vegetable oils kind of tie into this, is that I wish I would have known to advocate for myself more when I'm looking at the foods that I want to eat and the products that I want to buy. Because I think as consumers, a lot of the time we trust that if someone can sell a package of chips or, you know, a drink or whatever it is, that it's been vetted, right? And that there's a system that helps confirm that the ingredients in that food or that drink or that product are safe. And to some extent there are, but I don't think it's enough. And I think as consumers, we really need to advocate for our own health and take control of, you know, understanding what's in these products and understanding, you know, what we're putting in our bodies and how it affects us. And I think right now that's really hard. That's, you know, why we've created Trash Panda, to make that process easier, to identify those ingredients that are harmful and to know why and to make better decisions as a result. But I think that's the biggest thing, is that I think I just was, I didn't have my eyes open to that for a long time. And when I finally realized it and kind of started to dig into it and started to better understand the different elements at play and like what goes into making foods, and, you know, who has a say and how these things get reviewed and how these studies get funded, it really made me realize that no one's going to take care of me like I want to take care of me. And I think especially now as a mom, like, you are responsible for taking care of this tiny human, which feels like a huge responsibility, and it is. And I think food really matters. Food really impacts our health in the short term and how we feel and how we're able to get through each and every day feeling our best, but also in the long term. And I think if you really want to feel your best, then you have to know, and you can't necessarily just trust it because it's available, that it's safe. Because I think we're starting to see that that's definitely not the case.
Absolutely. That's Such good advice. Such good advice. It reminded me of the book Dorito Effect. I don't know if you've heard of that
Mm-hmm.
one. It's about like the
Yep.
science of flavor, and that's an interesting read if anyone's interested in learning more about some of the food industry things. I'm sure there's plenty of other books out there and documentaries and all of those things, but just kind of
Yeah.
like you said, being an advocate, learning more, being educated on we have the choice to choose what we consume and to
Mm-hmm.
make those decisions for ourselves. And I think Trash Panda will be an awesome way for people to start actually taking more ownership when they're in the grocery store. Do you have any other advice for new moms when they're grocery shopping? So first one, Trash Panda app, of course, but anything else while they're actually grocery shopping that might help navigate them in better food quality and sources and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that just try to do a little bit better, especially if you're new to this, if you're new to turning over a package and looking at a label and trying to understand ingredients and understand what they mean. I would say just try to do a little bit better. And, not everybody does have the access to healthy, high quality foods that they should. And a lot of times these best quality foods are very expensive, and they're much more expensive than other options that are out there. So I can totally understand as a consumer, if you're comparing two different products, one of which is, great, it has no harmful ingredients, nothing questionable about it, and one that has, one or two, but it's half the price. You just have to balance that. And I would say, don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to change everything all at once. Small, little incremental changes can really make a difference. And so even if you're just changing for like one product every week, or just starting to be aware about this stuff and just starting to learn, I can certainly understand that it's overwhelming and it's frustrating because things are made to be cheap and affordable, and that's where a lot of the quality issues come in. So, but just say to do your best, make little changes where you can. You can always do a little bit better, even if it's not like the best of the best option. If you can get something that's just a little bit better than the thing that you got before, then you're definitely making progress and moving forward. So one step at a time, and like tiny changes at a time, I think are the way to go.
Absolutely. I love that advice. I think with many things in our lives, but especially with nutrition, starting small and just kind of seeing that snowball effect kind of work in your favor. For sure. For sure. Awesome. So before wrapping up, I have one final question, but before getting to that question, where can people find you, Julia? So we'll put in the show notes how to get involved with the Trash Panda stuff. But where else can people find you? I believe you guys are on Instagram and Facebook and some of those things, if you want to share that as well.
Yes, we are on Instagram at trashpanda_app. Just sharing lots of tips about shopping and about products that we like and about products that you can swap out if you're trying to make changes. So that's a great place to start. We're posting all the time. And then we are also on Facebook as well, at Trash Panda app, and on Pinterest, all of those good things. But mostly if you want to find us at trashpandaapp.com, that's where you can get information about the app and sign up for the beta. So that's kind of our main hub, and you can find links to all of our social from there as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll put those in the show notes so people can follow along with the app, and also just get in on some of that new insider stuff with the beta testing, so they can have all of that good information before it launches. That's so special. Awesome. So last question for you. So you are leaving your favorite coffee shop or smoothie place in Encinitas, and there's a woman that comes up to you and she's like, "Hey, Julia, I have a question for you. I'm a new mom and I'm struggling with staying healthy and kind of finding my new routine as a mom and finding that new rhythm and as motherhood and all of that comes with it. What would be your piece of advice? You have 1 minute. Otherwise, you have a quick meeting for Trash Panda that you have to get to."
Perfect. Yeah. No, I think the biggest thing is being kind to yourself, and gentle with yourself, understanding that this is a huge life change and that things are going to be different, and that can be challenging, but can also be really great. And I think the biggest thing with all of that change is to find one thing that really makes you feel like you and makes you feel your best. For me, for example, that's like getting in 30 minutes of exercise a day. And it really just helps me get in the right mindset, mentally and emotionally before I start my work day. I get 30 minutes in the morning, just myself, or maybe it's with my husband and my son, and we all go on a run together with our dogs. But I think for me, that's crucial. So whatever that is for you, maybe it's, 30 minutes of reading a book, or 30 minutes of going for a walk, or doing meditation or journaling or something. And, for me personally, doing it at the beginning of the day is really ideal, because then it kind of starts your whole day off on the right foot. Mm-hmm. But I think you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of everybody else. And as moms, we feel the need to, there's always something to do, right? There's always something to be taken care of, always something to do, especially if you are trying to juggle working a separate career from, the work that you have as a mom at home, which is totally a job, and everything else that you've got going on. So try everything you can. Get support from your partner, get support from your family, get 30 minutes of you time so that you can, fill your own cup before you try to pour it out for everybody else.
That is wonderful advice, Julia, for all those moms out there, and for anyone, actually. That's really good advice. Just getting that 30 minutes, whatever it is. I love that, setting the tone, though, for the day, doing it in the morning if you can. I love having my quiet time in the morning, too, just to kind of set the tone, get the rest of the day so it doesn't just all of a sudden get away from you and just turns into all over the place stuff. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Julia, I appreciate having you on today. I'm so excited for hearing more about Trash Panda, because I think it's going to be something that's going to be fantastic for all people to be using, and also just your insight on nutrition. So I really appreciate you being on the show today, and we'll hope to be able to connect with you soon.
Of course. Yeah, this was awesome. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope we can connect again soon and can share progress on how things are going. But thanks again for the time.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Postpartum Performance Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, learn, and grow. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much for being here. The aim of this podcast is to provide oodles of the best possible content to help empower women, eliminate the phrase, "I wish I would have known sooner" around pelvic health, and to encourage personal growth through the postpartum journey to becoming the best version of yourself. If you enjoyed the show and found the content helpful, please remember to subscribe to the podcast and leave a 5-star review. These subscriptions and reviews help other mothers discover the podcast. If you're a regular listener, thank you. I encourage you to tell a friend about us or post on social media sharing your favorite part for today's show. If you're looking for more content like this, please follow me on Instagram at Postpartum Performance. Remember, mothers, if you're seeking to live life strong, I'm here with you in your corner. Continue to be brave, stay strong, and live confidently.